The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio. Coming up on the program today, we're going to go over what trees might be good for your property, as well as dangerous bugs in your backyard. Our guest is herbalist Dina Falconi, and we'll answer your garden questions. The hour is full. It starts now. Join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. I am your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. We thank you for tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 18 AM and FM frequencies, broadcasting our program in 2022 through our radio app, through our parent website, which is the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, under the Season 6 tab at the top of the page. Podcast replay, in-studio video replay, however you're capturing it. We thank you for doing so. If you want to be part of the program, participation is welcome. You can do that by sending us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or if you would like to talk to us, you can do that as well by giving us a call on the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods. That number is 1-800-927-SHOW, 1-800-927-7469.
Proclamation Goods creates cookware for the eco-conscious home chef. Their pans are non-toxic, have a lifetime warranty, and are made in Wisconsin. Their award-winning stainless steel Proclamation Duo cookware set is a 12-inch skillet and a stock pot that doubles as a wok. Best of all, the skillet and stock pot hinge together to form a Dutch oven. It's 2 pans with the versatility of 10, empowering you to cook more with less. If you care about your health and strive for a more sustainable lifestyle, then Proclamation Goods is for you. Supply is limited, so order yours now at proclamationgoods.com.
And we want to thank Proclamation Goods and all of the sponsors you've heard this year and you are hearing this year. These are companies in which Holly and I have reached out to advertise on the program in order for us to achieve the financial goal of paying the airtime that the station that you are on costs for us to hear, for you to hear us. So we reach out to them. We have criteria in which we have to, they have to match, and they sponsor us, and they are good products. Otherwise, we wouldn't waste our time having companies advertise on our program if we didn't back them the way we back these. Right, Holly?
Absolutely.
So you got anything else? Talk about trees, or you got anything else you want to add to that?
No.
Okay, let's talk.
Ready for trees.
Ready for trees.
You said it well.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to talk about which trees are best for you on your property. So
this will vary by location.
Yeah, it would vary by location, but we're referring to residential neighborhoods typically if you have a home in a regular residential type neighborhood. Right.
We're going to go over what zones these trees predominantly grow best in. So that is a key factor on what will work for you if you're in southern Tennessee in Zone 7, or you're in northern Wisconsin in Zone 3. Makes a difference here. So keep that in mind.
So the first one we have here is a paper birch. Birch trees they make an impression quickly, even before they're fully grown, because of that white bark. It is a fast-growing tree, and it can reach up to 60 feet tall, but it doesn't take up a lot of width of space.
It's very vertical and compact is what you're referring to.
Correct.
And if you're like, I think I know, if you search paper birch, you would know exactly, oh yeah, I've seen that. I know what that is.
Correct. And it is a striking tree, and it's easily recognizable, and maybe you have some memories of a birch tree.
Do you have memories of a birch tree?
I do.
Do you really?
Yes.
Can you briefly share with all of us what your memories of a paper birch tree is?
Yes, my friend and I would go to this local park when we were teenagers or preteens, and we would climb this birch tree and sit at it and just have, preteen chit chat.
The life you lived.
The life I lived. We would ride our bikes there.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, we will have more story time with Holly after the break. All right.
Don't promise people that. They might want it.
Yeah, have a whole show of your stories. All right, what's the next one? Is there anything else we need to...
It grows in zones 2 through 7.
Very compact, very vertical, doesn't take... Canopy is not wide, so it's a good thing if you've got limited amount of space, but you want some of that shade and leaves.
And maybe just a pretty white bark tree.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, now let's look at dogwoods. Dogwood trees are a popular tree that will... it's popular in most portions of the United States. It's a flowering tree that...
I think a lot of people know what the dogwood tree is, but they don't know, if you know what I mean. Like, you might be, when you look up a picture of it, it does have these beautiful red foliage that occurs before the fall, and a lot of people may have seen one, but they might not realize how that it's a dogwood essentially. So that's the dogwood tree. They do have a nice lush canopy, which is appealing to a lot of people. It is a larger backyard type tree,
right?
So that's something to keep in mind. If you do have a smaller backyard and you want to grow a tree, this might not be the best option.
Zone 9 and cooler, or 9 and lower, they are a cooler weather crop tree. They like cooler environments. They don't like the tropical environment.
Right. The saucer magnolia, this one has the really bright pinkish purple saucer-shaped flowers in the spring. And this one grows about 20 to 30 feet tall. Not as much of a canopy, so it is kind of like the birch tree where you have some height, but it's not as wide in its footprint, essentially your sky footprint. And it does put on those beautiful flowers, and that's zone 4 through 9. A little bit limiting in the zones in a sense, but still a wide range.
Well, a good rule of thumb is if a tree says, or a plant, perennial, says that is good for zones 4 through 7. I would not recommend purchasing that plant if you're in zone 4. I would make sure you were in zone 5 so you had that cushion, that you weren't up against that barrier of, I'm in zone 4. If we get one of those weird winters, it's going to drop really cold and could kill the plant. So if it says 4 to 7, I wouldn't buy it unless I was in zone 5 or above.
Or you could even contact your local university
Correct.
extension to ensure that purchasing a tree, if you are on that line, that bubble, that it would be a wise
Because
decision.
it all matters if you're in a valley or on a hill. A lot of microclimates, a lot of multiple zones in one zone when you really get down to the scientific attributes of that.
Absolutely. And that's something to keep in mind, is that we may live in a certain zone, but depending on where your backyard is, it can have a microclimate, and you might have a chance for either to put yourself out of the zone essentially, or bring yourself into the zone. All right. So the next one is fringe, and I've seen these trees. I wasn't super familiar, but it has these really like feathery white flowers in the spring, and it looks like some type of like fringy material. And these are good backyard trees because they grow 12 to 20 feet, and then they don't get too wide. They grow at 12 to 20 feet and kind of stay more compact, and that's zone 3 through 9. Yeah,
a smaller, compact canopy, good for limited space. Now, none of these trees that we're going to go over or have gone over would be good property barriers. You would need more of a shrub type of plant for that if you're wanting to create a living wall.
And that's typically those arbor vitae
yes.
that a lot of people purchase.
Not the greatest looking things in the world, but they really close off and give you a lot of privacy.
But the good thing is that as horticulturists do, different grafting, and they combine a lot of these plant properties that are more positive, there are more choices in shrubs.
So you think like in 20 years, the arborvitae, you'll be able to pick up a red one, a blue one, a purple one, a green one?
I mean, I don't, probably not.
No?
I don't know.
Who's to say why not?
I guess if there becomes a need for it,
Well,
on
we
the
can put a
market,
Tonka trunk on Mars and drive it around. Why can't we make an arborvitae?
Maybe people don't want that.
Okay.
I don't know. I think they're ugly, to be honest.
Yes, but they are a very
But
good
they are,
privacy,
yes.
very dense. You're not going to be able to sneak through and watch somebody on the other side. And
They are very
Yeah.
dense. Absolutely. So, yeah, that's the those are our trees that you want to look into for your backyard, for your property, etc. And so there's one that I kind of came across that is popular for backyards, but it's popular for
the wrong reason?
large backyards.
Okay. So not a compact urban lot per se.
Right. So this is the red oak, and people like the red oak because it is really beautiful.
Oh, it has great leaves, and then it has the acorns and all of these other things, but...
And it houses a lot of animal life. It's good for your
However,
backyard ecosystem. However, it does grow. It grows quite fast, and it gets up to 75 feet tall in maturity, and it has a very large, wide canopy. So if you have an average residential home backyard and you don't have a lot of space, do not plant a red oak tree. But if you have a larger piece of property and you want a beautiful, long-lasting, faster-growing, magnificent tree.
If you got 20 years, got some property, and want to turn it into a nice reserve.
Yes.
Animal reserve.
Absolutely.
Red oak would be.
The red oak is one. Mm-hmm. And then one tree we talked about to avoid is the black walnut.
Right, because of the toxicity, not because the tree is poison per se, but the toxicity in which the roots emit to protect itself. It has a chemical called Julong, and that will toxify the soil around the tree up to 80 to 100 feet from the trunk to keep it safe.
It's its own kind of defense mechanism.
Yes.
And so if you are like us and you are a gardener, a vegetable gardener especially, this could inhibit your gardening growth. Now, there are ways around it. Obviously, raised beds, container gardening,
straw bale gardening,
etc.
But the roots can still go in the ground, which
Right.
can absorb that toxicity.
Right.
But you said, well, I cut the tree down. Well, that doesn't really mean anything because there are still studies that show 10, 15 years after the tree has been removed, that toxicity still remains in the soil, and there's no natural way of tilling it out.
Right.
You have to let it work itself out.
But we're talking about planting trees, right?
Correct.
So don't plant a tree that is going to inhibit your goals of growing vegetables.
It produces a lot of nuts, a lot of walnuts. If you are looking for trees that will produce a lot of nuts, black walnut is a very good tree to do that for you. But it will prohibit other things. Now, not all vegetables are toxified by that toxicity in the soil. There are a certain caliber of vegetables that will be hampered by that toxicity. So keep that in mind. And if you are moving or have moved or started growing in a new location and you do see issues and you know it's not a chemical drift or an herbicide issue, it may be something in the soil such as there was a tree here. I moved here. They cut that tree down 5-10 years ago. We didn't know that. They ground the stump, but that toxicity is still in the soil.
Absolutely. And those are things to keep in mind. So one thing you want to keep in mind is Walton's. We're brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's Inc. We know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's Inc., you can get the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. Do you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's even has a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, etc. to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50 to save 10% off of your $50 order or more and get free shipping.
When we come back, dangerous bugs in your backyard. You're listening to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Take the guesswork out of composting with hot bin composting. Quickly break down food scraps within 30 to 90 days. Find out more at hotbincomposting.com. Do you have nuts or fruit in your yard? A Nut Wizard is a handy, effective tool that will pick up round or oval tree produce quickly and easily, leaving debris behind for a clean harvest. A Nut Wizard tool saves your back and your time. Visit nutwizard.com for more information. Hey gardeners, it's that time of growing season, so let's start canning. Head over over to Fleet Farm for all of your canning supplies and jam mixes. In one easy stop, find everything you need, like jars, lids, canners, strainers, racks, spatulas, and funnels from top brands like Ball and Kerr. Plus, pick up mixes, sugar, and more. When it comes to canning, get everything you need at your canning headquarters, Fleet Farm.
Protect your plants from damage with the 3-in-1 Plant Guard and Special Blend Fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com. Use promo code RADIO10 to save 10% off your order. Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use code 10TG22 to receive 10% off your order at jungseed.com. That code again is 10TG22.
Chip Drop is a website. You can sign up for free wood chip mulch delivery right to your door for free. Chip Drop connects homeowners and gardeners with tree services who are trying to get rid of their wood chips. You can also sign up to get free logs and firewood. Go to chipdrop.com to learn more and sign up for a free account. This week's garden tip is sponsored by the amazing Dr. Zymes. Eliminate and prevent garden pests with their 100% all-natural, all-in-one insecticide and fungicide. Experience powerful natural protection from insects, fungus, mold, and mildew. Try a free sample. Visit drzymes.com/garden talk. Use it from inside to out, from fungal gnats in your houseplants to whiteflies on your tomatoes outside, and all over. The amazing Dr. Zymes Eliminator is a revolutionary green solution that kills and eliminates soft-bodied insects, molds, and mildews on your indoor and outdoor gardens. Eliminator is a proprietary formula handcrafted to ensure quality control. Professional growers use it all year to ensure pest-free, mildew-free plants. Eliminator is comprised of organic material combined with other biological stimulating ingredients. That helpful garden tip was sponsored by the amazing Dr. Zymes. Eliminate and prevent garden pests with their 100% all-natural, all-in-one insecticide and fungicide. Experience powerful natural protection from insects, fungus, mold, and mildew. Try a free sample. Visit drzymes.com/garden talk. Thanks for listening to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. As you've heard through the program, many companies offering coupon codes to help you save on great products. If you've missed any of those coupon codes, you can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you. The Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Pro Plugger, Chip Drop, Bellbuster, Johnny Appleseed, Ivy Organic, Milkweed Balm, Walton's Incorporated, Bloomin' Easy Plants, Jung Seeds. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. Would you like a device that will water your plants without you having to do anything at all? Well, Tree Diaper is that device.
Tree Diaper is a revolutionary watering system that slowly releases water around the base of any tree or plant as the soil dries. The Tree Diaper is filled with water from rain or when you water and slowly releases water over 3 weeks. No more overwatering or underwatering with the Tree Diaper. Every time it rains, Tree Diaper recharges. No pipes, hoses, or electricity needed. Water your plants and trees, whether they're by the house, down the road, or in the back 40. Also works under mulch. Whether you're a first-time gardener or advanced, Tree Diaper will improve the way you water your plants. Made in the USA. Check out all the sizes they have available at treediaper.com. That's treediaper.com.
Well, we think many people like to go in their backyards, Holly, and enjoy their gardens, the trees, wildlife. But there are things in which we need to be cautious of because there are bugs, insects that are dangerous for us and our pets.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that this is not the case everywhere necessarily. And also that
location may vary.
And also many of these harmful insects are either around, they're nocturnal, they might be where they might live where you might not necessarily see them or bother them, but if you happen upon them in their home, then that's when they become defensive and cause attacks. So
we're going to see how many we can push through in this segment here in regards to bugs in your backyard that are not good. Brown recluse spider.
Yes, so the brown recluse spider is a brown spider. It has a violin-shaped marking on its back. It's typically found, beneath rocks, wood piles. It is venomous, and it typically is it's going to hide away from people. It's not something that comes out and
Purposely goes
after you. But you could find it, and then it would attack if it's provoked. The spider bites can cause blisters, fever, difficulty sleeping. So you want to make sure that if you think you've been bitten by a brown recluse, that you want to get immediate medical attention.
Now, these can be found in your home, too.
Yes, and a lot of times like in old buildings, barns, etc.
And brown recluse spiders they're basically in about 16 states: Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Nebraska, Ohio, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Texas. South central areas of the United States. That doesn't mean that they can't be in other places, but that's the predominant habitat for those spiders.
You sounded like a low-key auctioneer at that moment.
75.
Okay, so the next one is the deer tick. Ticks usually hide in grass. I know here in Wisconsin, there's been the last, I think, 2 or 3 years, everybody's like, watch out for ticks while you're hiking, etc. I always spray a DEET type bug repellent every time I go hiking, on my legs especially. And then because of mosquitoes, I spray my arms and other places as well. But deer ticks, they do hide in the grass, thick foliage. They will latch onto your dogs, yourself, your cats, if you take your cats out. And then they extract your blood. And then this can
to drink your blood.
Right. But this is not
not a good drinking of blood.
No, not Grandpa, what's his name? Munster.
Adam's, Munster, yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah. We don't want the deer tick and Grandpa Munster are two different
type of bloodsuckers.
So a lot of times they can spread Lyme disease.
Yes.
And this is a conversation if you do if you take your dogs hiking, if you let your cats outside, even
around the yard,
you want to make sure you have a conversation with your vet about tick repellent or tick preventative.
Now, these can be found in all 48 states and Alaska. Couldn't find any information on if they are in Hawaii, but if you're in the lower 48 and Alaska, you're going to have them. You're going to encounter these, or they're in the area. May not absolutely guarantee be in your backyard, but if you go out and about, you're going to probably encounter or be in their environment.
The Great Lakes region is actually the most highly populated region for deer ticks, so you want to keep that in mind. But
the Finger Lakes.
Right. No, not the Finger Lakes. The Great Lakes.
Great Lakes region.
Yes. So you want to keep that in mind. But at all times, you want to be aware of ticks. And they start coming about early spring and it's through fall. So definitely
don't kill your possums. If you got possums in the neighborhood, do not kill them. They will eat thousands of ticks every summer, if not every. I forget what the actual number, but it's an incredible number, and they are immune to Lyme disease. So they actually help control the tick population. The possums in the woods in your neighborhood, let them be. They're doing a magnificent job keeping you safe from ticks and Lyme disease. Scorpions is another one that could be in your backyard. Now, this is predominantly in the southern regions, more in the desert area of the United States.
So scorpions are typically found in the southern, southeastern, or southwestern, south and southwestern areas of the United States. They are nocturnal. They do like the warm, dry climates, like the desert, and I guess most American varieties don't have lethal venom like in Africa, but they still can sting you, and that can still be painful. If you do live in the warm, dry climates like a desert, you want to keep in mind that they can be found under rocks. If you are working in an area at night, in the late evening, early morning, super early morning hours, things like that, maybe you might want to wear gloves. Make sure that you have, shoes. If you go camping in these areas and you leave your shoes out in the morning, you want to make sure you shake your boots out, shake your shoes out, etc., to make sure there's no scorpions that have decided to crawl in there overnight.
Right. Yellow jackets can be found all over North America. Meadows, orchards, woodlands, playgrounds, cemeteries, everywhere that you can imagine, they can be found. And they can do a lot of damage very, very quickly to your body.
Right. So they do look like the yellow honeybee But you want to keep in mind that just because you see something that is a bee or a wasp doesn't mean that needs to be killed. You just want to be aware. So if it does look like a yellow jacket, then the best thing would be to make sure that you get away from it. These are often found at barbecues, picnics, etc., because they do like that smell of meat.
Rescue has a trap for
Yes.
yellow jackets.
Rescue does have a trap.
Rescue.com.
So you want to keep that in mind, that if that they do colonize quickly, and that if you do find one, that there probably are more around. So you may want to move away from the area if you do find a yellow jacket community.
Correct.
Nest.
Yes.
Is it nest? Yes.
Yeah.
That you want to get rid of it. You want to get that off your property. So keep these things in mind. Just be safe. Be aware. If you find one in your home, definitely
Extract it.
Don't even
Extract it in the
Yeah.
means that you feel needs to be extracted.
Exactly.
Fire ants. Fire ants are found in the United States and inhabiting all parts of Alabama, Arkansas, California, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Puerto Rico, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. And they have been discovered in spontaneous patches in Kentucky, Missouri, and Maryland.
Right. So red fire ants, they build these large mounds. They're about 2 to 4 square feet in size. And then if you do for some reason run into one, this mound, this can be done in the backyard, in the garden too. Right.
That these will inhabit those areas.
They build these homes, right? And if you happen to come across one and you disturb their home, they will sting you.
They will come after you with force. And with any of these insects that we are talking about, we are not referring to a medical treatment, because that varies based on the insect or the bug. That should be discussed between you and your medical physician on what the best, or the precautionary measures in which your doctor says that needs to be done if you encounter these or get bitten by these. We're just telling you what can be found in your backyard.
Absolutely. Now I'm thinking about that meme that shows like all these creepy crawly creatures, and then it says, "This is why I live where the wind hurts my face in winter," because a lot of these are like in the south,
like Nebraska. You're referring to, like flatland and
even here.
Well,
the wind hurts your face in winter.
For those who are not familiar, the show originates out of southeast Wisconsin.
Right.
So when we refer to that, now you know why we're talking about that particular geographical region.
Right. So what I'm saying is that like a lot of these are like, this is in the south. These
Right.
are in these southern climates, whatnot. And I'm like, that's okay.
But at least it's not. You look at the dangerous bugs in Australia. That I don't know why anybody. That's just bad down there.
Like Australia is just trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yep.
We got another one here. Black widow spider. In the United States, black widow spiders are found primarily in the south and west. They inhabit urban areas and as well as forests, deserts, and grasslands.
Right. So the black widow spider is a small black spider. It has a red like hourglass type shaped mark on its belly, and then its bite is extremely venomous. It can cause all sorts of issues such as muscle pain, spasms, abdominal cramps. It's rarely fatal, but you don't want to become their BFF for any reason. And if you felt that you are bit by a black widow, you do want to make sure you seek medical attention immediately.
All right, let's go with one more here, Holly. Paper wasp. Paper wasp is commonly named it's found in the southern North America and southern Canadian provinces throughout southern United States, and often nest around human development. So they kind of inhabit where the people are at.
Right. So if you find their nest, definitely.
Widely found in eastern North America and from southern Canada through the southern United States. So that's a lot of the population there.
Yep. So their stings are not life-threatening unless obviously you're allergic, but they can sting you more than once, which is, just absolutely magical and wonderful. So you want to keep that in mind, that if you do get stung by a paper wasp, they might come back for more.
Right. Well, let's do the other one. Let's do the kissing bug. This is not a good thing. Kissing bug. No. Kissing bugs. Most of the world's kissing bugs are in Central and South America and Mexico. They also have been found in the United States in the lower 28 states, with the highest concentration in Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico.
Right. So that's
what for us for those who do not know, what is the kissing bug and what's bad about it?
It's just a nocturnal bug. It looks like what are those little box? It looks like a box elder bug almost,
Okay.
but like a little bit more aggressive, like a bad guy box elder bug, and it can bite you, and then it can cause all sorts of damage to your central nervous system. So if you did come across one and it bit you, you definitely want to seek out medical help, medical assistance. And again, they are typically found in Texas and then the southwestern portion of the United States, like you said, Arizona, New Mexico. And they are nocturnal, which I guess is a good thing because
for most situations,
right?
Some of you may be thinking, well, why are we covering that? We have people listening to the show all over the country and want to provide as much information as possible. Again, these are not to scare you, but to make you aware of things in your backyard that you may not have been aware existed up to this point. So keep that all in mind. Well, another thing, Holly, that does exist in our backyard, and many of us are very familiar with it and are seeing them, is those nasty Japanese beetles, and they are decimating our gardens as we speak.
Yes, if you're looking to successfully control beetles without damaging the environment, look no further than Beetle Gone from Phylum Bioproducts. Derived from a naturally occurring soil bacteria, Beetle Gone is the only organic solution that successfully controls beetle invaders. You just mix the powder with water and spray it on your plants. Once ingested, the targeted pest will stop feeding and die. And since it's an organic BT product, it's a great choice to use on your fruit and veggies, in addition to your ornamental flowers and trees.
Not only does Beetle Gone work, but the best part about this product, it is safe to use around beneficial insects such as ladybugs, butterflies, and bees, and has zero water toxicity. Beetle Gone from PhylumBioproducts.com. Find out more at BeetleGone.com. That's BeetleGone.com. Use coupon code GardenTalk10 to save 10% off your order at BeetleGone.com. Hang out with us moments away. When we come back, certified herbalist Dina Falconi will be with us. You're listening to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
90% of the world's flowering plants require pollination to reproduce. Without pollinators, we humans would not survive. Here at Finding Nectar, a Denver suburb-based nursery providing flowering plants that are bee, butterfly, moth, and bat friendly, we are striving to get more pollinators into the backyards of Colorado. Together, we can increase the pollinating population one plant at a time. Affordable plants. Check all the plants out at 1550 Highway 72 in Arvada and at findingnectar.com. It's a struggle to find fruit that isn't a disappointment or a waste of money, especially peaches at the grocery store. You bring them home, they turn mealy and gross. Well, Tree Ripe Fruit Company has the answer. They deliver fruit straight from the farm, obsessed with quality, so you can actually experience the joy of a great tasting fruit. Love Georgia peaches? Tree Ripe delivers the best peaches you'll ever eat directly from the farm within days of being picked. Peach season starts June 15th and goes through August 4th. In July, they also deliver Michigan blueberries. You can find them at over 400 Peach Stops events throughout the Midwest or have fruit delivered directly to your home. All the event details and ordering information can be found at their website, tree-ripe.com. An extra bonus for you listeners, get 10% off your first purchase when you order online only, tree-ripe.com, by using coupon code HOLLY10, HOLLY10.
A non-selective herbicide that is also USDA certified? You bet. No More Weeds by Naturally Green Products. The same great company that brings you no more bugs, no more weeds. Kills weeds with no harsh chemicals, no glyphosate. No More Weeds is a commercial-grade vinegar base with a proprietary sticking agent. Great around pools, decks, patios, etc. Visit natgreenproducts.com, enter promo code WEEDS, WEEDS, and buy 3 1-gallon size units, get the 4th one free.
A little bit of summer is what the whole year's all about. Barbecues, parties, with friends. The fun is endless, unless the sun or thunderstorms have damaged your outdoor furniture. Keep it looking brand new with custom protective covers from coversandall.com. They have fabric choices for days that are 100% waterproof, coated to protect against sun, and can be custom designed for any size or shape, and placing or removing them. Easy peasy. Visit coversandall.com and use code GARDEN25 at checkout to save 25% on your purchase. Brought to you by Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardens, farms, landscaping, and more. Visit blueribbonorganics.com or call 262-497-8539 to find their products nearest you. Thanks for listening to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. As you've heard through the program, many companies offering coupon codes to help you save on great products. If you've missed any of those coupon codes, you can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you. The Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Rootmaker, Dripworks, Pomona Universal Pectin, Phylum Bioproducts, Tree Diaper, Chapin Manufacturing Incorporated, Deer Defeat, Water Hoop. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Moments away, clinical herbalist Dina Falconi. But first, a message from our good friends at Simple Grow.
Are you worrying about your plant growth? Provide your plants with what they need to grow to their potential. Simple Grow offers 100% organic worm castings at simplegrow.com. Unlike other worm casting products, when you order from Simple Grow, you are getting 100% worm castings, not filler plus worm castings. Promote ideal soil structure and aeration with Simple Grow's all-natural and odor-free worm castings. There's only one ingredient, worm castings.
That's it.
No chemicals or additives will seep into your food, and it doesn't smell like other fertilizers. For indoor and outdoor use, you can buy it by the bag, bundle, ton, or truckload. Check out what Simple Grow 100% worm castings can do for your plants and order today at simplegrow.com.
Well, Holly, let's go to the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods, and bring in our guest for this week.
Dina Falconi is a clinical herbalist, educator, and food activist. She's also the author of Foraging and Feasting, a field guide and wild food cookbook, and creator with her son Sam of her popular Dina Falconi YouTube channel. Welcome to the program, Dina.
Thank you, Holly. Glad to be here.
Well, we thank you for coming on the program and not only educating ourselves, Holly and ourselves, but all of our listeners too.
So you have a focus on food activism. What is food activism and how did you get into it?
Well, food activism, maybe it's just a fancy way of saying helping people to eat healthy. And that means helping them find good food, which often means connecting folks to farms or to gardening and to cooking. So it's really about helping people to connect to healthy, nutrient-dense food that seems to be harder to find. And so, you know, along those lines, I've been part of organizations like Slow Food, the Weston A. Price Foundation, and other organizations, and put on festivals where we connect people to farms. So the Family Farm Festival was something that I did with another friend for many years, and then also an ongoing monthly potluck series, which is, again, about eating nutrient-dense foods and educating folks about it. So it has a lot to do with linking people with healthy food, plus inspiring them to get them into the kitchen and to create healthy food, or someone to do it for them.
Right.
Yeah. So food activism is just really bypassing the food industry's profit-driven food agenda toward just helping people to remember that food, you know, is about healing and about health. Yeah.
Well, many people want to forage but aren't sure how to start or are concerned that they may identify something incorrectly and have consequences. What are some good beginning tips for somebody who wants to begin to forage? So
they should have healthy fear. Foraging has risks. So one of the most important thing as a forager is to know how to ID plants, to know your plant. So 100% certainty before you ever consume anything. So patience is something that foragers need to develop. You don't just go out there, grab something, and put it in your mouth. The best ways to develop your foraging skill is tag along with expert or experienced foragers. That's one of the best ways. Practice, just like a new language. So you want to keep practicing the plants you're meeting, really knowing how to ID them. Books, the book we created, Foraging and Feasting, or that YouTube channel, the Dina Falconi, basically is just inculcating like your brain with plant literacy, because we've been disconnected from that. So as a forager, you're relearning this very ancient yet simple skill, but it requires that practice. So for a new forager, don't get stressed out. Just go for it. Do it, meaning don't eat it, but do go out and ID plants. Connect with your local foraging clubs or your even mushroom clubs. Get lots of books out. Do a lot of viewing on YouTube, like my channel. So anyway, I would say those would be the beginner's tips, but don't be in a rush. That's all. Go slowly.
Now, it obviously foraging is a regional thing based on the plants. What is one of the things that you enjoy going foraging for?
Well, as a forager, that changes. So it's like a kaleidoscope of food. So it's really something you can't say. But right now, for example, here in the Northeast, where I'm in the Mid-Hudson Valley, New York, the berries are starting to pop. The elderflowers are popping. The flowers, like daylily flowers. So I basically follow the foraging season, and many things, like right now we're moving out of nettle leaf season and the leafy green season, more like we're moving out of, I would say, the rich early spring wild salads and more into the fruits and flowers right now. And then when the fall comes, those leafy greens often return. We do still have leafy greens, but that's a long answer to your question. I can't say what I most love because I love them all. It's like, yeah.
Fantastic. People will use nettle for seasonal allergies. Does it work well for that? And then how is it best used for those allergies?
Right. So this is, again, goes back to that idea of the food piece where folks might just try to rely on an herb to help with a health issue, sort of how people use allopathic medicine. But as a holistic approach, really it's food first and also lifestyle. So when somebody's dealing with allergies, you want to make sure that they're eating a healthy, nutrient-dense menu, their blood sugar is stable, they're sleeping well. Those all are key pieces. Then you can bring in nettle. And nettle leaf can be consumed throughout the year, actually, to develop some help in what would we say a hyperhistamine response. So it can help moderate histamine response to allergenic, to people who have allergies. But I would say that the nettle seed in green stage, this very specific moment when the nettle seed is forming, is even better for sort of shutting down or slowing down the histamine response. So somebody who might be getting a lot of sneezing and drippy nose from some sort of seasonal allergy can eat a little bit of those seeds, and it actually helps to just shut it off or shut it down. So it's pretty amazing. It doesn't always work that way. So you have nettle seed to nibble on, and then you also have nettle leaf tea infusions. Infusion is a long, steep tea. So those are two ways that I've seen folks use nettle. But also don't forget there are many other wonderful herbs. So goldenrod is another excellent herb. Solidagos, the genus Solidagos, for dealing with histamine response and a lot of sinus allergy action that gets kicked in by pollens and things like that. But just to go back to that point that herbs are helpful along with lifestyle that helps. So that's always really important to mention.
Now, you mentioned nettles. Many people may instantly think of stinging nettles. I can't, that's dangerous. How do you properly harvest such a plant in that situation?
Great. Yeah, good question. So it is the stinging nettle that we're talking about here. It's called Urtica dioica, and it has hairs that release different chemicals into our skin and cause a lot of welting. So to harvest it properly, I mean, you could become there's a term called urtication where you can get stung by it, and some people think it's therapeutic. I'm not recommending that, but it isn't like the end of the world, and in fact, some people even do it to help with rheumatic and stagnant things related to arthritis. But back to how to harvest without getting stung is you wear good gloves, long sleeves, scissors, so you protect yourself. It isn't prickers. It doesn't prick you. It needs to access your skin to sort of inject this chemical activity. And then to prepare it, well, typically when you make an infusion, which is how a lot of people use it for supporting health, that will also help reduce allergenic response, we make an infusion, and that's usually with dried nettle. So you would harvest it before it flowers. You would cut it with the stalk intact. You would dry it, and then you would use all of that to make a long steeped tea. And so that means that you're going to boil water. You're going to use about a half an ounce of herb, that's the nettle, leaf, and stalk, per quart of boiling water, and you would put that into a vessel that you can put a lid on, let it steep for about 4 hours. So that's how you prepare it. And stinging nettle doesn't sting you, when you've cooked it or mechanically mashed it. You kind of destroy the stingers as well, the ability for it to sting you. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Great.
So we are talking with Dina Falconi, and she is a clinical herbalist, author, educator, and YouTuber. Your book, Foraging and Feasting, tell us more about it and why our listeners should pick up a copy.
They got to pick up a copy. They got to get one. No, it's a fabulous book. I created it out of a sort of void for. I've been collecting books for 30 plus years, herb books, foraging books, and I felt like this book wasn't in the library yet. It didn't exist. So it's a guide that is visually there for you, unlike most other field guides. This isn't a field guide in the sense of a pocket guide. It's a large book, so you're not necessarily going to put it in your bag. But in the field, it is a field guide in the sense that it really helps you to key out or properly identify a plant with the visual characteristics. That's where Wendy Hollander, who's an amazing botanical illustrator, worked with me. Sorry, Wendy, enslaved you for a good 3.5 years to really get those pages to help the forager know they have the right plant. Again, it's back to ID, correct ID. So it's unique in that it's going to hold your hand and have you confidently ID plants. That's an amazing asset in a book like that. It's hard to find in books. And then it plugs those plants into recipes. So we have 100 master recipes. And again, you're held very closely, but not in a restrictive way, because the master recipes are there to hold your hand throughout the growing season. So let's say you want to make a soup, a wild green soup. Depending on the wild greens that are in season, you're going to plug different ones in. So a master recipe, that's the templates that I really resonate with, and they have to do with freeing up the forager to use whatever is at hand, but giving you a solid framework, a solid recipe framework to have success in a recipe. So like the ice cream recipe, the same. Depending on the fruit that's moving through the season, you'll put that into the master recipe, or the gratins, or the pestos. So there's 100 master recipes that hold your hand in the kitchen, and then we feature 50 plants that are commonly available, I'd say the majority of them, throughout the cosmopolitan world. And so really it's a book about giving one confidence to forage and to feast. And it's a beautiful book. So it's also something just pleasing to look at. So that's why everyone should own a copy.
Absolutely. How did you get into foraging? Where did you learn about it?
It came out of my preteen years as a young girl, a girl in New York City, looking for ways to, it sounds crazy, but I got involved with food as healing, food as medicine at that early age. And from that, the seeds for foraging were planted. The idea that, your food and medicine grows freely from the earth, and that food that you forage, like, for example, the nettle, is an amazingly nutrient-dense vegetable, more so than most plants that we can buy in the supermarket. So we have nutrient density. So I was chasing for, that idea of health through food, and then foraging can segue very nicely into that. So it came from that wish to just, really nourish myself. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we've really enjoyed having you on the program. How can people find out more about you?
So the website is botanicalartspress.com, or foragingandfeasting.com will redirect you to that same site. And there you can sign up for our newsletter, for my weekly newsletter. Also, we have a blog there. And also the YouTube channel. They can go to Dina Falconi YouTube. I think it's a funny thing to say. I'm not a YouTuber necessarily, but anyway, so folks can find me through the website and the YouTube channel, which, I think those would be probably Instagram also. You can do foraging and feasting Instagram.
Well, Dina, we greatly appreciate the opportunity you've given us by allowing us to learn some of the information about foraging from you, not only for Holly and myself, but all of our listeners.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. And when we come back, it's going to be your garden questions, our garden answers. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you with the harvest that you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com and use coupon code RADIO22 to save 15% off your order. That's rootmaker.com. Japanese beetles show up in summer for a feeding frenzy in your garden, and they are the worst party guest, feeding on leaves, then laying eggs in your lawn for next year. Japanese beetles can decimate your plants and trees. Protect your plants with Japanese beetle traps from Rescue. New this year, Rescue has refill lures to use the same trap again the next year. Made in the USA by the makers of the popular Rescue Fly and Yellow Jacket traps. Learn more at rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com. Thanks for listening to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. As you've heard through the program, many companies offering coupon codes to help you save on great products. If you've missed any of those coupon codes, you can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you. The Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Tree Ripe, Covers and All, Ironwood Tool Company, Timber Pro Coatings, Blue Ribbon Organics, Natural Green Products, Algae Men, Dr. Zyme, Happy Leaf LED, Rescue, Big Tool Rack, Hot Bin Composting, Proclamation Goods. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us today. Time for your questions, our answers. If you got a question, you can send it over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to give us a call, you can do that on the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods. That number, 1-800-927-SHOW, 1-800-927-7469.
Proclamation Goods creates cookware for the eco-conscious home chef. Their pans are non-toxic, have a lifetime warranty, and are made in Wisconsin. Their award-winning stainless steel Proclamation Duo cookware set is a 12-inch skillet and a stock pot that doubles as a wok. Best of all, the skillet and stock pot hinge together to form a Dutch oven. It's 2 pans with the versatility of 10, empowering you to cook more with less. If you care about your health and strive for a more sustainable lifestyle, then Proclamation Goods is for you. Supplies limited, so order yours now at proclamationgoods.com.
Alrighty, Holly, we had a number of questions come in. We'll start with this one, and this one is sponsored by Fleet Farm and FleetFarm.com. How do I get how do I get good Brussels sprouts? I always have large plants. They're very tall, but the sprouts are always small.
Right. So what you want to do is, as the sprouts start to form on the stalk, is cut the top 6 inches of the plant off. And this allows the growth then to go into the sprouts as opposed to the growth of the plant.
It will not hurt the plant. You're just stopping the vertical growth. That's all you're doing. All right. Do you prune the bottom leaves of determinate tomatoes? I have 2, each in 15-gallon containers and 10-gallon fabric pots. I have 4 Roma baby tomatoes and a couple of other baby tomatoes. And I'm in Virginia, Zone 7A. So do we trim the lower leaves of determinate tomatoes? First of all, what does determinate mean for those who are not familiar with the terminology of tomatoes?
Sure. So determinate tomatoes are also known as bush tomatoes. These tomato plants will put on a large harvest all at once, essentially, or kind of briefly throughout the summer, and then they will straggle on a little bit till the end of summer, but for the most part, they put on one main large harvest. And so that's what determinate tomatoes are. Indeterminate tomatoes are known as the vine tomato, and these are the type of tomatoes that will continue to grow until you kill them, or there's a frost, or you rip them out of your garden.
And yes, we do trim the lower 6 to 8 inches of all varieties or all types of tomatoes, whether they're indeterminate or determinate. The reason for that is it prevents unnecessary soil splash up on the leaves, which can produce 90% of the tomato plant's problems by soil splash up. Now, we do incorporate mulch in that realm as well, but also it creates an air circulation and just cleans up the bottom of the plant to allow the plant to focus on more growth in other areas than growing way low against the soil. So go ahead and trim them. You're not going to hurt anything, and you'll be just fine. All right, Holly, our next question is, I have spaghetti squash going to fruit, but it doesn't look like anything that I've ever grown before, such as the spaghetti squash. They look like zucchini.
It's alive! So it's okay. You have something growing, that's for sure,
right,
but it's a cross. So there was some sort of cross-pollination at some point, and you want to assume and treat it like a zucchini.
Yeah. It's not that you cross those. We have been seeing this more predominant in the last 5 years, that you buy seeds from a certified grower that are supposed to be spaghetti squash or butternut squash or fill in the blank, and they have crossed in the seed production manufacturing in the field of the grower. Now, if you are growing zucchini, pumpkin, summer squash, winter squash, all in your garden, you don't have to worry, and the seeds are not doing this, you don't have to worry about them morphing into something this year. If you save the seeds for next year, there is a possibility of that cross occurring from the seeds in which you saved. But they're not going to, you got zucchini or you got a spaghetti squash this year, you don't have to worry about, oh no, it's going to do this, but you treat it like a zucchini. It's not going to be as tasty as a zucchini, but it's going to be edible. So you want to discard any of the seeds in that seed pack so you don't have this issue again. And the zucchini, the pumpkin, and the spaghetti squash all are in that same family, which can cross with one another. We harvested one out of the front yard garden that was a zucchini shape, but it was bright orange as a pumpkin would.
Right.
So,
all right, so here's another question.
Yes.
Is I went on vacation and come back to find several yellow cucumbers. I know that means they are overripe, overgrown, essentially. What can I do with them as they are bitter to eat? Unfortunately, there's not a lot
do
you
you
can
have
do with them.
hogs?
Right, if you have hogs, I think chickens will even eat
Yeah.
them too. So if you have some sort of livestock type animal,
goats maybe?
maybe goats, they would probably eat them, but as
You
far
can-
as yourself,
right,
you would want to compost them.
Compost them, and you don't necessarily, overripe cucumbers would be, I'll save the seeds. Well, you can do that, but you want to make sure that you're not growing any other variety of cucumbers in your yard or adjacent neighbors, because they are very easily cross-pollinated. That doesn't mean that you save the seeds and you plant them next year, you're not going to get a cucumber. You're going to get that. But it may be similar to, as the previous question was, a morphation of several varieties that do not taste good.
Right. And just keep in mind, whether you go on vacation or not, you want to frequently harvest cucumbers. As you harvest them, don't wait until they get to be this ginormous.
Oh, if I get them bigger, that'll be more for me to eat.
Right.
It goes downhill quick.
No. So you just want to keep in mind that what plants are trying to do is essentially survive. So they're going to continue to put out the seed, which is in this case the fruit. And so the more frequently you harvest, the more fruit they're going to put out, and the better it's going to taste.
All right, Holly, you are a multi-award-winning Wisconsin State Fair canner, and here's a question for you. I know it is very important to get as many air bubbles out or get the air bubbles out of a jar before putting in the water bath canner. I've always seemed to have bubbles in my jar no matter how much I try to get them out. Is this a problem, and any advice on doing a better job?
So as long as you get out the air bubbles as much as you can, that's the important part. If for some reason you still have air bubbles, it's perfectly okay. It's not the worst thing. We use what's called it's a little tool, and it's a headspace measurer on one side, and the other side it's just a flat
spatula. It's
a piece of plastic. It's really good for getting air bubbles out. Some people use chopsticks to get the air bubbles out. Some people use skewers, like wooden skewers for kebabs on the grill. Whatever works for you. You could try a different method. But don't use metal. You want to use something that's either wood or plastic to get those air bubbles out.
So not getting every air bubble out is not detrimental to the proper canning procedure, but as many as possible is best. And couldn't you actually tap the jar gently on the surface of the counter or towel in order to try to extract some of those bubbles, or is that frowned upon because of the potential of a hot jar and breakage and all that before you get in the canner?
You could tap the jar.
Okay.
However, you want to, when it comes to canning, once you are filling those jars, especially with certain things like jams or pickled vegetables, you want to work swiftly and quickly, and sometimes tapping the jar might take more time, or as you mentioned, could possibly break the jar. You could tap it on a towel on the surface of your counter, table, whatnot. But the biggest thing is just to possibly use a different method. If you are using the back of the headspace measure or the spatula thing, you can try that, or you could try something like a chopstick, and that would help you as well.
Okay. All right, another question about canning, Holly. How much does pickling/canning salt matter versus just kosher salt for making pickles?
So pickling salt has the absence of iodine. And so if kosher salt has the absence of iodine, you can use that as well.
So iodine is a bad thing when it's not recommended for the process of canning anything.
Right.
Okay. All right, so there you go. We are out of time with that, and we thank you for your time. Did you miss any portion of the program today or would like to revisit it? Well, there's a couple of ways in which you can do such. You can send us an email, gardentalkradio@gmail.com. We will send you a link to the program. You can also go to our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, and click on the Season 6 tab at the top of the page and check out past shows of Season 6 and all previous seasons. Tune in next week to the program. We're going to go over 4 upsetting events in the garden that are kind of expected, as well as accessibility for all gardeners in gardening. And our guest will be author Stephanie Rose. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.